Roller derby is played in increments called jams. Each jam lasts up to 2 minutes. Both teams field up to 5 skaters at the start of the jam. 4 of these skaters are called blockers, and 1 is called the jammer. The jammer wears a helmet cover with a star on it and scores points for the team. The blockers are playing both offense and defense at the same time, and together they make up what is called the pack. The 2 jammers start each jam behind the pack and must get through all of these skaters for an initial pass before they can begin to score points. When the initial pass is complete, a jammer can score 1 point for every opponent they pass with their hips. The first jammer out of the pack legally is declared lead jammer, which means they can end the jam anytime they want before the 2 minutes are up. Sounds easy, right?
Good evening, everyone. And welcome to the hangar at Oaks Amusement Park, home of the Rose City Rollers. Thank you all for coming out on Exploding Whale Night. Time to have a explosive time. Fun fact, the whale was exploded on the same day that Tanya Harding was born. A little bit of Oregon trivia there for you. Just learned that myself. So, good times for Oregon that day. So, yeah, we got a great game for y'all tonight. We've got Southern Oregon Derby here. Facing off against our Wreckers. Come on, y'all. A little bit louder for Southern Oregon. Hey. Much better. All right. Now, before we get going, please stay on your side of those black bumpers. That is for your safety and the safety of the skaters. Also, please be courteous to your fellow fans. While the action is going, don't walk in front of everybody. There's 30 seconds between each jam. If you're going to go grab some food or grab some merch or head out to the bathrooms, wait for those 30 seconds between each jam. Your fellow fans will appreciate you for that. Also, please give it up for all of our volunteers who make all this possible. And and for all of our officials on skates and off. And now let's get this going. Alpaca, who you got?
All right, I've got Southern Oregon Roller Derby. All right, give it up for number 05, Kablamo. Number 1044, Jane Dye. Number 11, Cherry Noble. Number 115, Ragna Roxy. Number 13, Mountain Mel. Number 22, Andy Oakley. Number 31, Fear Da King. Number 342, Tuck Norris. Number 42, London Rumbler. Number 666, Kates of Hell. Number 777, Scrambler. Number 8, Forney Skater. Number 87, Pretty Awkward. Number 999, Pure Presser. And number 03, Randy Roadkill. Give it up for Southern Oregon.
Oh no, here we go. And now, exploding into your hearts, the Wreckers. Zero 0505, Jackie Daytona. No. 168, Durwood. 202 is Slugbug. Wearing 208, Megan Me Blubber. 30, Bubblegum Butch. Number 3125, Bruise Clues. Number 33, Stinking Well of a Problem. Number 36, Destroyevsky. 411, Diddley Squat. Wearing 585, Daisy Dukes. Number 72, Solar. Number 8, Fleur de Lethal. Wearing 814, Edward Scullen. 815, Tiny Danger. Number 83, Macy DC. And finally, last but never least, number 96, Velveeta. Give it up for the Wreckers.
All right, good evening, Derby fans. I am Rosemary's Baby. I'm going to be your only announcer on stream tonight. I hope you're as excited as I am. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a Class A yapper, so I hope you're ready to hear about roller derby from me. Tonight, we have the Wreckers going up against Southern Oregon Roller Derby. Here are your rosters, just so you can take a little bit of a peep. There is the non-skating officials and skating officials as well, if you are interested in those things. I'm excited to get things going today. If you did not know, it is Exploding Whale themed because of the infamous exploding whale. Some Oregon history for you all. So this Oregon on Oregon matchup, excited for this. On our Jam on Hawthorne Jam line for the Wreckers, looks like we have Bubblegum Butch going up against, for Southern Oregon Roller Derby, Ragna Roxy. There's the 5 seconds call. Ragna Roxy pushing up the pack with a little bit of offense, but Bubblegum Butch on the outside. Ragna Roxy with lead Jammer. Both Jammers racing around the track. The pack is off screen, taking off, speeding up. The pack is almost going as fast as the Jammers currently are going. Ragna Roxy says, no race for me. I don't want to keep going. Decides to call it off. 0-0 for that first jam. I want to do a super special shout out to all of our incredible local business program partners. Their support keeps us rolling all year long. Interested in becoming a local biz partner in 2026? Go to rosecityrollers.com/localbiz to learn more. On our Jam on Hawthorne Jam line, we have, that is Daisy Dukes for the Wreckers going up against Scrambler for Southern Oregon Roller Derby. Daisy Dukes tiptoeing on the outside, hitting up against, that's number 8 for Southern Oregon, Forna Skater. Daisy Dukes slips by. One final hit from number 1-3. That is going to be Mountain Mel, but that is Daisy Dukes with lead Jammer. Scrambler at their back of the pack takes the cover off, passes to Forna Skater. Forna Skater fighting up against Edward Scullin at the top of the pack. Edward Scullin has to let go as Daisy Dukes is on a scoring pass, getting some offensive help from Macy DC. Daisy Dukes says, I got enough points. Decides to call it. That is going to be 3 points on the jam. 0 for Southern Oregon Roller Derby. First points on the board. Here's a Radical Wheels replay of Daisy Dukes squeaking by number 87, getting that big hit from Mountain Mel, getting bumped out of bounds and jumping back onto the track to score some points. All right, on our jam line, we have Diddley Squat for Wreckers going up against Kates of Hell for Southern Oregon Roller Derby. Diddley Squat bumping up against the back of Andy Oakley as Kates of Hell slides by Durwood and skates out the front for lead Jammer. Diddley Squat getting some offensive help from Durwood and Velveeta, and gets out with on an initial pass. Kates of Hell bumps into the back of the Wreckers, tiptoes up that inside, opts to call it, picks up 3 points, but not before Diddley Squat picks up 1 point of her own. All right, here we have that Radical Wheels replay. That's going to be that bump to the inside and then that tiptoe on the outside for Kates of Hell. On our jam line, looks like we have Tiny Danger skating up against number 999, Pure Press Her for Southern Oregon. Pure Press Her going up against Megan Me Blubber. Ooh, big fall at the back of the pack. But that is Pure Press Her out with lead Jammer. Tiny Danger running on the outside. One final swooping hit, but is through on an initial pass. The pivot for Southern Oregon, gesturing for all the blockers to go up forward, offers a little bit of offensive help. The Southern Oregon Jammer decides to call it, scoring 1 point on that jam. I want to talk about 187 Killer Pads, the exclusive protective gear sponsor of RCR. Often imitated, never duplicated. Stick with the best 187 Killer Pads. All right, 5 seconds called. On our jam line, we have Bubblegum Butch for Wreckers going up against Rowdy Roadkill for Southern Oregon. That is going to be a spread out pack. Bump out of bounds by Edward Scullin at the back of the pack. Bubblegum Butch fighting up against the backs of number 8. That's Forna Skater, first team for Southern Oregon. That is 87. Looks like pretty awkward, but Bubblegum Butch sneaks by for lead jammer. Big jump and a fall on the into turn 2. Edward Scullin anchoring the Wreckers defense. Solar offering a hit to the jammer. Macy DC at the top of the pack with some offense, but that is Rowdy Roadkill out on an initial. Exit hit at the tap by Forna Skater, but Bubblegum Butch gets the points, calls it off. 4 points for the Wreckers, 0 for Southern Oregon, bringing us to 9 total for the game for Wreckers, 3 for Southern Oregon. Want to shout out some league sponsors, Menopause Northwest and Portland Vital Signs. Thank you to those sponsors. Daisy Dukes jamming for Wreckers up against Ragnar Roxy for Southern Oregon, and Ragnar Roxy through with lead jammer. Daisy Dukes tiptoeing on the outside has already pulled the jammer cover. Gets some offensive help from Dostoevsky. Durwood and Jackie Daytona at the back of the pack, but that is a big hit on Durwood. The tripod of Wreckers, anchored by Velveeta, cap pass to Dostoevsky. A multiplayer penalty going to someone. Oh, number 42, London Rumbler. Ragnar Roxy picks up those 4 points, decides to call it. That was the first penalty of the game. 23 minutes left in this period, 7 minutes of gameplay, only 1 penalty. Impressive. Impressive for all of the skaters currently. Here's that Radical Wheels replay of that hit on Durwood. That's why you don't turn your side, because you're going to get knocked down, especially by those heavy-hitting jammers. All right. We have Diddley Squat for the Wreckers, jamming up against Scrambler for Southern Oregon. Diddley Squat pushing up against every single Southern Oregon blocker, but that is Scrambler up against the back of 33, a stinking whale of a problem. Diddley Squat getting a big hit from 0-5. Kablamo, fitting name for the theme tonight. Pack is stretching out in turn 2. And that is a lead jammer call to Diddley Squat. Scrambler getting some offensive help from number 42. That is London Rumbler, the captain. Spill on the far straightaway. Diddley Squat decides to call it. And on that jam looks like the refs are deciding how many points. We'll see. Follow and tag at Rose City Rollers on social media to stay in the loop about all things Derby in Portland. I would love to see people who are watching chime in on the chat. There's been 9 minutes of gameplay, or almost 9 minutes of gameplay. Thoughts so far? Who are you cheering for? All right, Tiny Danger for the Wreckers, jamming up against Gates of Hell. And that is a cut track penalty for Tiny Danger, putting Gates of Hell and Southern Oregon Derby into a power jam. This power jam is brought to you by the Menopause Unicorn, a new nonfiction book available now on Amazon. Southern Oregon opting to let Gates of Hell hit the wall before playing offense. Gates of Hell bumping up against the back of Slugbug, Solar, Macy DC, and Edward Scullin. Southern Oregon opting to keep a go in the back and let Gates of Hell push out the top of the pack. Gates of Hell stuck on the backs of Edward Scullin and Slugbug. Tiny Danger is returned to the track, is busting through that wall of Southern Oregon. Coming up against, looks like Forna Skater and number 13 Mountain Mel, but is out on an initial. There is the call from Kates of Hell, 4 points for Southern Oregon, putting us into a tie game. Here's that Radical Wheels replay of Tiny Danger sliding along the back of those Southern Oregon blockers for that initial pass. On our Jam on Hawthorne jam line, we have Pure Press Her for Southern Oregon up against Bubblegum Butch for Wreckers. Pure Press Her pressing up against Dostoyevsky, Jackie Daytona, and Durwood, stringing them out the top of the pack, earning the jammer. Bubblegum Butch pulling the jam hat. Fighting up against, big hit on the inside from number 42. That is London Rumbler. Pure Presser fighting up against Dostoyevsky at the top of the pack. Some spills in the back of the pack. Wreckers using a lot of defensive strength to try and slow down Pure Presser. Cap pass to Dostoyevsky. Both Jackie Daytona and Bubblegum Butch trying to offer some offensive help to Dostoyevsky. Both opt to drop back and play a little bit of defense. Big hit from London Rumbler, drawing Dostoyevsky back. Andy Oakley trying to offer some offense for Southern Oregon. Big hit by Velveeta, delivering Pure Presser to the inside. At the top of the pack, we have number 11, Cherry Noble, and 05, Kablamo, anchoring that defense. Dostoyevsky knocked to the outside, drawn back by London Rumbler. Pack now in turn 3. Pure Presser says, I've been fighting for quite a long time. Deciding to call it. Picking up 4 points. That is a lead change. Southern Oregon with 15 points. Wreckers 11. Porque No Taqueria, the sunniest place in Portland, voted the best tacos and Mexican food in PDX. And that's the whistle. We have Rowdy Roadkill for Southern Oregon getting some offensive help from London Rumbler up against Daisy Dukes at the back of the pack for the Wreckers. The Wreckers blockers at the top of the pack. That is Bruise Clues, number 33, Stinking Whale of a Problem, Megan Me Blubber. That is Rowdy Roadkill with a bit of a jump on the inside line for lead jammer. Stinking Whale of a Problem with a direction of gameplay penalty. Daisy Dukes out on an initial. Big hits at the back of the pack as the pack rolls into the far straightaway. Rowdy Roadkill, big hit at the top from Megan Me Blubber before calling it. That is going to be 3 points for each team on that jam. Here's that Radical Wheels replay of some movement by Daisy Dukes at the back of the pack and fighting up against the inside line at the front of the pack for Rowdy Roadkill. And this is a timeout. So this timeout is brought to you by RCR's official realtor. Welcome to PDX. It's a good time for a timeout. Especially, this game is pretty low scoring, all things considered. 13 minutes of gameplay having occurred, 18 points for Southern Oregon, 14 for Wreckers. That's pretty low. There's some pretty heavy defense happening, some long periods of time where players are really locking down in tripods. 3 penalties total, so some pretty light penalties. 2 for Wreckers, 1 for Southern Oregon. That's what happens with odd numbers. You got to split them up. Ritual Dyes, Portland's local yarn shop with hand-dyed yarn, tools, and more, owned by a Bud's parent and Wreckers skater. Diddley Squat jamming for the Wreckers up against Ragna Roxy for Southern Oregon. Ragna Roxy tiptoes up that inside line for lead jammer. Diddley Squat getting some offensive help from Solar. opts to pass the cap to Edward Scullin. There is a penalty coming somewhere. Heard the whistles. Ragnar Roxy deciding to continue play. No pack is called, and that looks like it's a direction of gameplay going to Mountain Mel for that penalty for the Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box. Ragnar Roxy up the inside line. Foreign skater capturing Edward Scullin alongside number 87, pretty awkward. But that out of play is called, and Edward Scullin is through on a scoring. Ragnar Roxy just slices through that tripod. Tripod rolling into the close straightaway. Edward Scullin just sprinting up that inside line. Scores another 4 points before the jam is called. That brings our total on that jam 12 for Southern Oregon, 8 to Wreckers after the star pass. Empty Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box going into this next jam. And there's that replay of that inside line. Just impressive footwork. Tiny Danger jamming up against Scrambler. Scrambler and for Southern Oregon Roller Derby at the top with some offensive help from London Rumbler. Scrambler fighting up against the backs of Dostoevsky, Slugbug, and braced by Durwood. Direction of gameplay going to Jackie Daytona. Southern Oregon tripod bumps Tiny Danger to the outside. That is Andy Oakley. That's number, looks like 11, who is Cherry Noble. That's 666, Kates of Hell. Pack is stretching out on turn 2 and the far straightaway. Lead jammer going to Scrambler, but Scrambler getting swallowed back up by the Wreckers blockers. That is Tiny Danger getting some offensive help from Jackie Daytona at the back of the pack, pushing that tripod of Southern Oregon Derby forward. That is London Rumbler trying to make some moves and some space at the top of the pack for Scrambler, and is successful. An out of play block going to Durwood, I believe. We'll see as it pops up. Yep, there it is. Scrambler tiptoeing up the inside, opts to call it after getting some points. That is going to be 3 on that jam, 0 for the Wreckers. 33 total for Southern Oregon Derby, 22 for the Wreckers. Buffalo Gap Saloon and Eatery, John's Landing's favorite eatery and saloon. On our Jam on Hawthorne jam line, we have Bubblegum Butch jamming up against Peer Presser. Wow, Bubblegum Butch up the outside line, tiptoeing for lead jammer. A bump to the inside by Velveeta. That's going to be a forearm going to Velveeta. So that is Peer Presser out on an initial. Megan E. Blubber calling for something before the jam ends. Bubblegum Butch calling it off. That's 3 points for the Wreckers. And that is going to be a penalty at the end of that jam. You likely live near a Derby League. Get involved. Skate, donate, volunteer, or cheer from the stands. Is anyone in the chat from Southern Oregon watching? Or anywhere else? Would love to see some people chime in. On our jammers of record currently are Daisy Dukes and Rowdy Roadkill. Daisy Dukes for the Wreckers, getting some offensive help from Florida Lethal. Getting a big hit out by Mountain Mel at the top of the pack. Going up against the back of number 87 for Southern Oregon. That is pretty awkward. Rowdy Roadkill fighting up against that Wrecker's tripod. That is number 72, Solar. Florida Lethal and Edward Scullin, joined now by Velveeta and 3-4-2 from Southern Oregon, returning from the box, Tuck Norris. Track cut penalty going to Daisy Dukes. Southern Oregon with a power jam. This power jam is brought to you by Menopause Unicorn, a new nonfiction book available now on Amazon. Pack in the far straightaway, sort of a scrum, fighting up against each other. Rowdy Roadkill trying to get some movement, some inching forward, but is caught by Solar, Velveeta, Edward Scullin. Daisy Dukes returns from the Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box and is out on an initial. This, the Rowdy Roadkill pulls the cap. This is going to finish and go to its natural conclusion. Daisy Dukes out with 4 points on a scoring pass, 7 seconds left in the jam. Star pass going to pretty awkward. Daisy Dukes trying to squeak by with some more points at the end. We'll see how many. And as that jam comes to its natural conclusion, that's going to be 0 points for Southern Oregon. And here's that replay of Daisy Dukes ducking on the outside past both Southern Oregon blockers. That's going to be 6 points total on the jam for Wreckers, 0 for Southern Oregon. The total score, 33 for Southern Oregon, 31 for Wreckers. On our Jam on Hawthorne jam line, we have Diddley Squat up against Kates of Hell. Diddley Squat up against the back of 0-5. That is Kablamo. Fighting up against that Southern Oregon tripod at the top of the pack, but that is Kates of Hell getting a bump out by Stinking Whale of a Problem. But sneaks by on the inside, Kates of Hell lead jammer. Diddley Squat having pulled the cap, fighting up against the London Rumbler in the back. Big hit at the back of the pack. All right, with the conclusion of that jam, we have about 9 minutes left on the game clock, waiting for any points to come up on the board. It's going to be refs are talking. 4 points for Southern Oregon. Here is our penalty board. So Wreckers with 6 penalties, Southern Oregon with 3. So kind of all over the board, no one in trouble yet. I will take this time to shout out some sponsors as we are seeing what's up on the track. So 888 is an exclusive protective gear sponsor of RCR, elevating derby safety standards with cutting-edge technology. 888. And I can personally vouch for 888. So while we are in this official timeout, looks like finally some engagement from the chat. Come on, chat. It's just me blabbing for forever. So please, thank you. Skinner saying hello. Hello back. I don't think I've ever talked this much, this continuously in my life, and I am a teacher. So this is really, it's really fun. I'm having a good time. I hope everyone out there is having a good time, because I am. I'm going to continue to shout out some sponsors since I have the airtime too. Good Bar is the official bar of RCR. Keep the good times rolling after the game. Come be yourself at Good Bar, the official bar of the Rose City Rollers. I've done karaoke at Good Bar, by the way. It's awesome. It's fun. People there love doing kind of weird karaoke, in case that's kind of your jam. If you're not, a classic karaoke kind of person, if you're more trying to do something a little more interesting, karaoke is pretty good. The space is good. There's like a nice area for karaoke. So I recommend it. You know, if you are looking for something to drink while you're doing karaoke, Two Town Cider House, damn fine cider made right here in the Pacific Northwest. Get a cider, do some karaoke, hang out at Good Bar. If you are at home and you want to, you know, pull your phone up, you know, while you're waiting, check out the RCR merch at rosecityrollers.com/shop. We ship nationwide. There's always some new stuff happening in the shop. I recommend looking. You know, you could go grab some Wreckers merch while you're sitting here. You could go online, peruse the other teams. We have some more games coming up. We're in the middle of our juniors season for Junior Roller Derby, our junior home team season. And there on your screen is going to be our merch down at the hangar. Some cups. If you're a Stanley Cup person, have your own Rose City Roller Stanley Cup. Get a big Wrecker sticker. Get a hat to rep any of the home teams. Get a shirt, a sweatshirt, joggers, crop tops, tank tops. Everything there at your merch. And if you're thinking, you know, I've got money to spend, but you got money burning a hole in your pocket, make a tax-deductible donation to your favorite 8-wheeled nonprofit at rosecityrollers.com/donate. Yeah, maybe you are interested in giving us your money. Help support us. Help us stay running, staying in this building. All right. Our official timeout seems to be concluding. So, looks like we are going to go back to gameplay as soon as everyone is ready, as soon as we're all ready to go. If you're watching this game at home, I'm just going to keep running through these ads while we're waiting. So everyone better be ready. If you're watching at home and you're like, man, I wish I was there. I wish I was there in person. Rose City Rollers has games all year round. Head to rosecityrollers.com to check out the schedule and get tickets to the next game. If you're watching at home and you're like, I'm going to keep watching at home, you should tune in tomorrow afternoon to the juniors doubleheader. We have Killer Bee skating up against Skaters of Doom in our Petals age range. And for Buds, we have our teenager age range. We have Undead Avengers going up against Bleeding Hearts. And you'll get to hear more of me on the stream. Everyone's so excited about that at home. All right, looks like we're getting back to play here. We have Tiny Danger for Wreckers, but before I can even finish reading the jammer names, Ragnaroxy for Southern Oregon has lead jammer. Tiny Danger bouncing up against the backs of the Southern Oregon skaters, out on an initial as Ragnaroxy ducks on the outside. Easy 4 points, calls it off. Such a casual skate around the track. Here is that Radical Wheels replay of that moment from Ragnaroxy, just ducking to the outside with speed, through for 4 points. Southern Oregon with one player in the Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box, so we are going to have a pack advantage for Wreckers. That is going to be Bubblegum Butch jamming for the Rose City Wreckers, up against Scrambler for Southern Oregon. Penalty at the top of the pack, multiplayer going to Forna Skater. Bubblegum Butch out with lead jammer. Another penalty happening in the pack. Oh, big apex jump. Wow. Big apex jump. That's an Upswept Creative apex jump. Ethical and inclusive websites and online marketing for radical leaders. That's Upswept Creative. Ooh, big hit from Mountain Mel on that inside. Bubblegum Butch decides to call it. content with 3 points on that pass. Not before Scrambler scores some points too. That is 7 points for Rutgers on that jam, 2 for Southern Oregon, bringing our total score 43 for Southern Oregon Derby, 38 for the Wreckers. One player standing in the Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box. Daisy Dukes jamming for Wreckers up against Kates of Hell for Southern Oregon, but Daisy Dukes with lead jammer. Kates of Hell bumping up against the chest of Jackie Daytona, up against the combo of Velveeta and Durwood as Daisy Dukes re-enters the pack. Bumping on that inside line, gets a hit out by number 11, Cherry Noble. Daisy Dukes fighting against that trio of Southern Oregon skaters on that line. Gets delivered to the inside by Andy Oakley. Kates of Hell up against Destroyevsky and Durwood. Pack has moved into the far straightaway now. Bump out by Forna Skater, drawing Daisy Dukes back, as at the front of the pack, Kates of Hell opts to pass the star to 0-5, Kablamo. Daisy Dukes gesturing for some offense on the inside. Gets some, gets bumped out, opts to call it. He's going to pick up all 4 points on that jam. That is 4 points for the Wreckers, but not before Southern Oregon sneaks by with 1 point, so that's going to be a 4-1 on that jam. 44 for Southern Oregon, 42 for Wreckers, narrowing the gap. 187 killer pads, industrial strength materials, unmatched ergonomic design, unparalleled experience, 187 killer pads. Tiny Danger jamming for the Wreckers. Gets some offensive help from Stinking Whale of a Problem and is through with lead jammer. Pure press her, getting hit out by Megan Me Blubber. Going up against the back of those Wreckers. Sneaks by on the outside for an initial. Tiny Danger fighting through, getting a bump from, looks like London Rumbler. 3 points on that jam, official lead change. 45 Wreckers, 44 Southern Oregon. A clear Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box going into this next jam. A little under 5 minutes left in gameplay. For Wreckers, we have Bubblegum Butch, and for Southern Oregon, that looks like it is Rowdy Roadkill. A timeout taken that is sponsored by RCR's official realtor. Welcome to PDX. All right. During this timeout, I'm going to take an opportunity to say you can be a part of this rad community by volunteering with Rose City Rollers. Go to rosecityrollers.com/volunteer. Our announcers are volunteers. Our skaters often volunteer at the games. It's a volunteer-run community. All right. Jam is starting. That is going to be London Rumbler taking the star for the first time in this game. Bubblegum Butch out on an initial, but that is London Rumbler with lead jammer. Pack rolls into turn 2. London Rumbler getting a bump out to the outside. Opts to call it off, but not before Bubblegum Butch enters on a scoring pass. 4 points for the Wreckers, 3 points for Southern Oregon. There's that Radical Wheels replay of both of those jammers getting out. 5 seconds is called. We have Daisy Dukes for the Wreckers jamming up against Ragnar Roxy for Southern Oregon. Daisy Dukes sneaks by the outside with Lee Jammer but gets bumped out. Ragnar Roxy going up against the trio of Wreckers blockers at the top of the pack, stretches them out, gets one final hit on Durwood. Daisy Dukes, having not escaped the pack, opts to call it off. Black Cat Plumbing, your local neighborhood plumbing company and a proud sponsor of RCR since forever. All right. 5 seconds is called on our jam line. For Wreckers, we have Tiny Danger up against Scrambler for Southern Oregon. Tiny Danger getting a hit from Kablamo, but gets lead Jammer, gets chased out of the pack. Big hits the back of the pack. Megan Me Blubber drawing Scrambler back as Tiny Danger uses Stinking Whale of a Problem as a sort of barrier, a guide. I think there's a football term for it, but I don't know. Offensive help at the top of the pack, and that is Tiny Danger out with 4 points. Scrambler getting a hit from Bruise Clues. Tiny Danger using Bruise Clues for a shirt whip. Gets bumped to the ground, calls it off. It's going to be a total of 7 points on the jam for Wreckers, 0 for Southern Oregon. A penalty going to a Southern Oregon skater at some point in that jam. To number 104. 1044? Yeah, 1044. Jane Dye. Oh, we got a shout out on the chat. Hello from Sacramento. Excited to have some listeners, some watchers. For Southern Oregon, that is Kates of Hell sneaking by the inside for lead jammer. And that is Bubblegum Butch opting for a star pass to Edward Scullin. That was a Two-Town star pass brought to you by Two-Town Cider House. Boldly crafted, fresh pressed cider made right here in Oregon. Kates of Hell, a little bit of a jump on that inside, calls it off. 1 point. There's going to be a player left in the Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box to hash out their, I think it was a direction of gameplay. Rebel Heart Therapy, individual and relational therapy for Portland's Black Sheep and Unicorns. That's 5 seconds called. For Wreckers, we have Daisy Dukes skating up against Rowdy Roadkill for Southern Oregon. Daisy Dukes getting 2 offensive help at the top of the pack from Dostoyevsky and Velveeta. Big hit at the back of the pack. Daisy Dukes with lead jammer. Rowdy Roadkill bumping up against the backs of the Wreckers blockers, fighting their way to the front. Daisy Dukes up against the back of London Rumbler and number 11, Cherry Noble. Some hits coming at the back from Kablamo and other Southern Oregon players. Looks like that is, 1044, Jane Dye. Pack in the far straightaway now as we slow down. Both walls opting for a defensive contingency. Wreckers with a tripod in the front. Southern Oregon with a 4-wall in the back, joined by 1 Wreckers offense. Drawback on Daisy Dukes. And that is London Rumbler popping up to play some offense, but on the outside frees Daisy Dukes. Rowdy Roadkill up against the back of Jackie Daytona and Velveeta. Durwood anchoring that tripod. Daisy Dukes getting bumped out by not the one and only London Rumbler. Pack stretching out across turns 3 and 4 and into the straightaway. Daisy Dukes a little bit of a spin in the pack. Gets caught up by London Rumbler and the other Southern Oregon blockers. Dostoyevsky opts to hit some of the players. Daisy Dukes knowing that the period clock has expired, opts to call it off. 7 points total for Rutgers on that jam. 0 for Southern Oregon, bringing our total score 63 for the Rutgers, 48 for Southern Oregon. And we're going to finish with that Radical Wheels replay of Daisy Dukes sliding up, bumping into the backs of people, a little bit of a spin. And that is our half. So we have 14 minutes left of intermission. Get some snacks, get some drinks. Look at our penalty board before you leave. 6 penalties each. This is a really low.
Hey folks, did you know that your head is not normal? No one's is. If your helmet size is a small, but your teammate's size is an extra large, wearing the same helmet shell doesn't just look kind of funny. The functionality of the EPS foam and how it disperses impact energy is compromised. The 888 certified sweat saver comes in better shell size options than our leading competitor, giving you the highest level of protection on impact. Try it for yourself. We got you.
All right. Welcome back, fans at home. Just want to shout out some action in the chat. I asked for chat action, and we got chat action. We got a Go Wreckers from Mama Danger. We have Morticia saying Go Southern Oregon. Some league mates shouting me out. Hello, people at home. I love announcing, so I'm happy to be here. So thank you. This game so far has been such a close game. It's been such a tight game. 63 points for the Wreckers, who have started to open it up at the end of this first half. Southern Oregon with 48, but who are strong contenders. Pretty low scoring game overall. Lots of defense, lots of people locking it down. So I'm excited to see the second half and see how things are changing. This is a close game still. Only 15 points between the teams. Bubblegum Butch jamming for the Wreckers up against Ragnaroxy for Southern Oregon. Ragnaroxy tiptoeing up that inside line for lead jammer. Bubblegum Butch fighting up against the backs of number 342. That is London Rumbler with a big hit on the inside. 342 is going to be Tuck Norris. Ragnaroxy fighting up against the top of the pack against Lethal, Florida Lethal, and Bruce Blues. Both jammers out now because there was a two-town cider house star pass to Megan Me Blubber. Both jammers racing towards the back of the pack. Big hit to the inside on Megan Me Blubber. That is Ragnaroxy to the outside. 2 additional points in that jam. 6 points total for Southern Oregon. 0 for Wreckers. On our Radical Wheels replay, that is Ragnaroxy bumping to the outside and then tiptoeing up that inside for lead jammer. All right, on our Jam on Hawthorne jam line, we have Daisy Dukes for the Wreckers up against Kates of Hell for Southern Oregon Derby. Kates of Hell wanted to twin with Ragnaroxy, tiptoes up the outside line instead for lead jammer. Daisy Dukes already pulled the jam hat, is looking for freedom on the outside. Kates of Hell hits the back of Slugbug through for 4 points. Macy DC trying to offer some offensive help for Daisy Dukes. Daisy Dukes reaching for a star pass, but opts to continue going, getting a bump out by Mountain Mel. But that's going to be some sort of illegal contact penalty going to Mountain Mel, sending them to the Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box. Rebel Heart Therapy, individual and relational therapy for Portland's Black Sheep and Unicorns. Daisy Dukes pushing up against the top of the pack in the far straightaway. Getting a hit out by Fornicator. Kates of Hell bumping up against the backs of Solar and Slugbug. Getting a bit of a push through the pack by Fornicator, through with another 4 points. And that is going to be a star pass to Edward Scullin. That is a two-town star pass brought to you by Two-Town Cider House. Kates of Hell jumps to the outside, calls it off. Waiting for points to be put up on the board. That's an additional 4 points, 16 points of that jam. Lead change, Southern Oregon 70 to Wreckers 63. Biggest jam of the game so far. Wow. And on that replay, there's that push, just pushing Kates of Hell through the pack. Sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes you just need to shove your friends through the pack. We got some shout-outs for the close game that's happening. Tiny Danger jamming for the Wreckers up against Pure Press Her. Pure Press Her going up against the backs of Dostoevsky, Durwood, anchored by Velveeta. Offensive help coming from Kablamo. Tiny Danger whipping off of Dostoevsky. Running up the outside line, bump out by London Rumbler. I wish I had a tally for how many times I've said London Rumbler in this game because she is doing so much on the track currently. Pack is stretching out over turn 2. Pure Press are stuck on the Wreckers tripod at the back of the pack. Tiny Danger pushing all 4 blockers from Southern Oregon at the top of the pack. A split pack happens as a star pass goes to London Rumbler. That's a 2-time Cider House star pass. Both jammers have pulled their hat, which means that there is going to be no lead jammer. We'll go the rest of the natural jam time, which is going to be about 50 seconds. London Rumbler kind of ducking, juking, bumping, hitting up at the top of the pack with Durwood. Out of play is called. London Rumbler through for 4 points. Tiny Danger getting some offensive help on the outside. Big hit from number 11, Sherry Noble. All of the Wreckers blockers are distracted and miss. London Rumbler sliding by on the inside line. Wreckers blockers really providing some nice offensive help for Tiny Danger. And then reforming in time to catch London Rumbler at the back of the pack. London Rumbler bumping up against the backs of Dostoyevsky and Velveeta. Tiny Danger getting a little bit of a whip at the end of that jam. It's going to be an additional 3 points for Southern Oregon, 11 total on that jam, bringing their total to 81. 4 points on the jam for Wreckers. Looking to see if there's any, well, we might have more points. Jammer for the Wreckers has not returned with the points total. There's that Radical Wheels replay. And that is going to be a timeout going to the Wreckers. So this timeout was brought to you by RCR's official realtor. Welcome to PDX. All right, there's our total points. So 7 for Wreckers on that jam, 11 for Southern Oregon. I think that now is a really good time for a timeout. We entered the second half, and we had like one jam that was like a little bit lower scoring, and then like back-to-back 2-minute scoring jams. Pretty intense. So, good time for a timeout. In my personal opinion, I've coached before. I'm a skater. If this happened to me or my team, I'd be like, y'all, I think maybe it's time. Just to kind of get things under wraps, reset, shake off whatever that nervous halftime energy is, and then getting back to the game. Want to shout out some sponsors, Trailhead Credit Union and Lionheart Kombucha, some sponsors of the league. Bubblegum Butch jamming for the Wreckers, Ragnar Roxy for Southern Oregon. Bubblegum Butch out with lead jammer, Ragnar Roxy leaving a trail of blockers on the ground in her wake. Both jammers speeding through the pack into the far straightaway. Bubblegum Butch opting to call it off. 3 points total on the jam for Wreckers, 4 for Southern Oregon Derby. Ragnar Roxy sneaking by before the jam can get called off. Want to get your brand in front of thousands of passionate Derby fans and support this awesome league? Check out all the sponsorship opportunities at rosecityrollers.com/sponsors to find out more. And just know that if you sponsor the league, every Derby skater is going to start going there. So you should do it. If you want a lot of roller derby people, supporting your business. Daisy Dukes jamming for Wreckers up against Kates of Hell for Southern Oregon Derby. Southern Oregon opting for defense at the top of the pack. Macy DC trying to make some offensive space for Daisy Dukes. Wreckers tripod at the back of the pack is Slugbug, Solar, and Edward Scullin. Daisy Dukes through with lead jammer. But Kates of Hell does a little 180 turn on the inside, and that's a cut track penalty. So that's going to be a power jam. This power jam is brought to you by the Menopause Unicorn, a new nonfiction book available now on Amazon. Ooh, big hit, big slip on the outside. Kablamo picking up that after that fall. Some whistles happening in the pack, waiting to see what's happening. Daisy Dukes has a cut track penalty and is also going to sit in the Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box. Rebel Heart Therapy, individual and relational therapy for Portland's Black Sheep and Unicorns. Folks at home, we're going to have a jammer switch out. So when 2 jammers get a penalty at the same time, the jammers only serve as much as the other jammer served to make it really equal. So, and to make sure there's always a jammer on the track. So that's Kates of Hell already out and on an initial pass. And Daisy Dukes, only serving as much time as Kates of Hell served, is also out of the pack. This jam will go its natural conclusion, which is only 15-ish more seconds. Kates of Hell, a little tiptoe on that outside. Through for 4 points. Slugwood trying to offer some offensive help. Frees Daisy Dukes for 4 points. Kates of Hell hits the pack one more time, trying to get out at least a point or 2. Earns 1. So that's going to be 5 for Southern Oregon on that jam. 4 for the Wreckers. Here's that Radical Wheels replay. It's going to be that hit and then the slip. Oh, no. Triple Eight, more Derby-specific gear than any other brand. Triple Eight has you covered. Triple Eight is one of our exclusive protective gear sponsors. Tiny Danger jamming up against Scrambler. Scrambler scrambling up the tripod at the top of the pack. Tiny Danger with some offensive help from Velveeta is getting the Southern Oregon blockers moving, but gets a bump out by number 31, Fear to King. Number 87, pretty awkward with a big hit out on the inside line. There's going to be a direction of gameplay penalty going to someone. Wow, Tiny Danger with a little bit of a whip off of a skater. Through with lead jammer. Gets hit out at the top of the pack. No pass, no penalty. A penalty happened at some point, but I don't think that anyone went to the box, so we'll find out. Star pass to pretty awkward for Southern Oregon. Jackie Daytona trying to offer some offensive help at the back of the pack. Number 31, Fear to King, trying to make some defensive help. The blocker stringing out at the top of the pack. Tiny Danger fighting up against number 13. That is Mountain Mel. Mountain Mel gets the out of play call. 4 points for Tiny Danger. Tiny Danger entering the pack, sliding by the outside, bumping into Scrambler, getting caught up by Forna Skater. Calls it off, earns another 4 points. So that's going to be 8 total on the jam. 0 points for Southern Oregon after that star pass. And looks like, I think it's an official review. Yep, it's an official review by Southern Oregon. So if I were to be a betting person, if I were to bet, I think it was maybe on Tiny's getting caught up after that lead was called, getting hit again. The gym ref called a no pass, but I am presuming they're going to ask for a cut. Just guessing based on the coach's reaction. You know, the camera was right there. So an understandable official review. I probably would pick the same thing. And, see, we got that coach doing the no pass. So, you know, some educated guesses. If anyone else in the chat wants to give some educated guesses on what they think the official review is going to be. It's like a game show now. Let's see who's the closest. Dancing on the jam line. Are you in the Portland area and want roller skating fun brought to you? Book RCR's Skatemobile for your next block party. Go to rosecityrollers.com for details. And here's that penalty board. So in the first 10 minutes of the second half, some penalties have picked up. So we had 6-6 at the end of the first half. 1 additional for Wreckers, 3 for Southern Oregon. So no one in trouble though. 3 players with 2. 19 minutes left. Everyone's in a good position so far. So I feel like it's going to be a good game, penalty-wise at least. Just want to shout out some more league sponsors, the Portland Mercury and Secret Aardvark. Secret Aardvark, great sauce. Portland Mercury, the go-to place for events in Portland. Official review continuing. So, seeing, they're still talking. So, in my opinion, from my experience, the longer they talk in official reviews, the better it goes, I guess, for the person asking for the official review. Just because I feel like sometimes if they know that they're not going to give a penalty, they just talk for like 10 seconds and then they walk back and I'm like, nah, you're not going to get the penalty. But if they talk for a long time, I have found that I want to see, maybe this is not for me because I'm not a statistician, but I do want to see the correlation between length of time that the officials are talking during an official review and if the official review is won or lost. This would be maybe some fun math thing if there's a math nerd in the audience. I think that it would be interesting to see, if a longer official review generally yields an awarded official review. That would be maybe I would be interested. I'm not a math person. I am an English nerd.
Derby was requesting a cut call on the Rutgers jammer. They were hit by a blocker who was out of play, so there was no cut. So the official review will not be retained.
Okay, well, me playing the guessing game by myself, I was correct. That's what they were asking for. Got some more shout-outs on the chat. Taco watching from home. Go Sports. I agree. Go Sports. A cheer for Go Tiny. Roxy versus Butch. I love this lineup. I also love this lineup because this is like the tiptoey kind of jammers, so I'm excited. All right, we're bringing us back. There is one skater starting in the Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box for Southern Oregon, so that is going to be a 4-3 pack advantage for Wreckers. Wreckers move up the track. Ragnar Roxy hitting up against the back of Solar and Florida Lethal, anchored by Stinking Whale of a Problem. Bubblegum Butch up against Kablamo and number 42, London Rumbler. Bubblegum Butch stuck at the top of the pack against that tripod of Southern Oregon skaters. Ragnar Roxy making the 4 defense of Southern Oregon work hard. The 4 defense of Rutgers work hard. The back of the pack. This lead jammer for Bubblegum Butch. Both jammers racing around the pack. Both jammers are free. Pack rolls into turn 3. Called off. And there's that. 0-0 on that jam. 90 for Southern Oregon. 85 for Wreckers. Roller derby is more than a sport. Help keep roller derby accessible by donating. Find out more at rosecityrollers.com. Right now is the give guide. So if you don't know what give guide is, you give money on certain days. You get entered to win a prize. So check it out. Give guide is real fun. You know, you give stuff, you can get stuff back. An official timeout is happening. Not really sure why. We're finding out. Dance party on the jam line. We've been bumping the tunes here tonight. I know you might not be able to hear at home, but we've been bumping the tunes. All right, looks like that official timeout was to award a penalty to Florida Lethal, which means that Southern Oregon has the pack advantage on this start. That's going to be 666 Kates of Hell jamming for Southern Oregon up against Daisy Dukes. for Rutgers. Kates of Hell out with lead jammer. Southern Oregon kind of spread out, but regains that tripod formation as Rutgers, with some offense at the back of the pack, is blocking Kates of Hell. Kates of Hell getting offense from Andy Oakley. Getting bumped out by Slugbug, drawn back. Kates of Hell seeing Daisy Dukes out of the corner of her eye. Opts to call it. 3 points for Southern Oregon. And looks like there's going to be 0 points for Rutgers on that jam. So really, really tight, close call off. Five seconds is called on our jam line. We have Tiny Danger jamming up against Ragnaroxy. Ragnaroxy slamming through that tripod at the back of the pack, but Tiny Danger tiptoes up the outside line for lead jammer. Ragnaroxy hitting up against the back of Velveeta, ducks around Macy DC out on an initial. Tiny Danger using Destroyevsky as a block through the pack. Swirling through that pack, calling it off. 4 points total for Rutgers. That is going to be 93 Southern Oregon, 89 Rutgers. Rutgers slowly closing this gap. Here's that Radical Wheels replay. That's going to be Tiny Danger skating forward, bumping into Velveeta, and then using kind of like that offense from Velveeta as like a further offense. On our jam line, we have Pure Presser and Bubblegum Butch. Pure Presser bumping up against the back of Bruce Clue, but that is Bubblegum Butch with lead jammer. Pure Presser getting a hit from Megan Me Blubber. Getting one final exit hit from Megan Me Blubber and getting out on an initial. Bubblegum Butch with some offensive help from the rest of the Wreckers. Slides by the inside, fights up against Pretty Awkward. Calls it off. 3 points for the Wreckers, bringing this to a 1-point game. For my friends in the chat, how are we feeling about a 1-point game? Close game, we love it. Here is that Radical Whiz replay of Megan trying to get a little bit of a hit at the top, but Pure Presser getting out. On the jam line, we have Daisy Dukes jamming up against Kates of Hell. Daisy Duke sliding by the outside, hitting London Rumbler. A 4-wall of Southern Oregon at the top of the pack, but number 11, Cherry Noble, offers some offense, picks up a direction of gameplay for that offense. Daisy Dukes fighting up against London Rumbler and Kablamo and Tuck Norris. Getting some offensive help from Macy DC. Takes a spill, and that's going to be a call. We're going to be 0-0 on that jam. We're going into an official timeout. 14 minutes left in the second half. A 1-point game. Things are tense. Things are exciting. The audience has been going wild all night. Excited here. Gotta shout out Love Good Derby. I also love Good Derby. I'm very excited about this. So, really excited to see this happening. Would love some, if anyone has anything else to say, I'm here reading the chat. I'll do some sponsors while we're waiting. Let's see. What can we do? WSL Leadership Coaching. Learn how to transform interpersonal conflict into organizational justice at wslleadership.com. Here is our penalty board. So one person in the Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box right now. 11 total for Southern Oregon, 8 for the Wreckers. A pretty low penalty game just overall. I feel like most people have a little bit more by now, so I'm happy about it. Low penalties means everyone's being safe, everyone's being cautious, everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, which is good. No one's being a particular troublemaker. As we're finishing up this official timeout, skaters are taking the track. Wreckers are going to have a pack advantage, putting Tiny Danger out to jam. And looks like that is Ragnaroxy for Southern Oregon. Tiny Danger getting some offensive help from Velveeta, but Ragnaroxy with that jump on the inside line through with Lead Jammer. That was impressive. Wow. Tiny Danger getting a whip from Velveeta, a whip from Dostoyevsky, double whip. Big hit from Kablamo. Kablamo really kablamming. Joined by Pretty Awkward and Mountain Mel. Ragnaroxy up against getting some offensive help at the back. Through with 4 points. Tiny Danger, big hit from Pretty Awkward. Pack back into the straightaway. Tiny Danger getting some help from Dostoyevsky. Star pass, 2-town cider star pass to Dostoyevsky. Ragnaroxy getting slowed down by Velveeta and Tiny Danger. Dostoyevsky really making the Southern Oregon blockers work. A little tiptoe on that inside. Through with 4 points. Ragnaroxy also exiting the pack. Opts to call it off. That is going to be 4 points for the Wreckers, 8 total for Southern Oregon. 101 Southern Oregon, 96 for the Wreckers. Here's that Radical Wheels replay of Dostoyevsky at the top of the pack. Wow. This game is so exciting. I'm so excited. All right, on our jam line, we have Bubblegum Butch up against Gates of Hell. Bubblegum Butch hitting up against London Rumbler. Gates of Hell against the back of Edward Scullin, but that is Bubblegum Butch through with Lead Jammer. Gates of Hell, star pass to London Rumbler. Bubblegum Butch, ooh, wow. That is going to be a upswept creative apex jump. Big hits to the top of the back from Stinking Whale of a Problem. Both jammers on a scoring pass now. Bubblegum Butch just slicing through those blockers, sliding by the inside. It's getting there is instructions from the bench to call. We get a call off before London Rumbler can score anything, and now we have a lead change. 104 Wreckers, 101 Southern Oregon. Wow. The audience is so loud. I don't know if you can hear it. The audience is loud. There's that Radical Wheels replay of that upswept creative apex jump. Just sliding by that inside. On our jam line for the first time tonight, we have Megan Me Blubber up against Pure Presser. Megan Me Blubber up against the top of the pack against Mountain Mel and Pretty Awkward. Pure Presser on the backs of Slugbug and Solar, anchored by Dostoyevsky. Dostoyevsky with a big hit, drawing Pure Presser out and back. Megan Me Blubber pushing up against that tripod of Southern Oregon at the top, stretching out the pack slowly. Pack is in the far straightaway now. Slow defensive slog for both tripods. Macy DC opting to offer some offensive help, trying to get Megan Me Blubber through. Megan caught up on the back of Pretty Awkward, Kablamo, Mountain Mel, Andy Oakley. Pure Presser, pressing up against the Wreckers blockers. Macy DC switches out that offense, opts to send Dostoyevsky. Penalty at the back of the pack, and that is going to be Lead Jammer going to Pure Press her. A 2-town Cider House star pass to Dostoyevsky. Dostoyevsky trying to help anchor that pod, but that is Pure Presser through with 4 points. Dostoyevsky trying to get by Andy Oakley. Skating forward, opting for tiptoe on the inside line, through on an initial. Pure pressure, following the offense from Andy Oakley, through with 4 points, calls it off, bringing Southern Oregon's total to 8 on that jam. 109 Southern Oregon, 104 Rutgers. Another lead change. Another one. Wait, what's DJ Khaled? Another one. Some Rutgers cheering happening in the audience right now as we watch that Radical Wheels replay. Sasquatch HR, making nonprofit and small business workplaces better. Sasquatch HR. All right, 9 minutes left in this half. That is before I can even read the jammers. Ragnar Roxy through with lead jammer. Bubblegum Butch with a cut track penalty. Southern Oregon with a power full jam. Let's see how they use it. Big hits cause Ragnar Roxy to fall, but that is a spin on the inside line. Durwood trying to save the day at the top of the pack. Out of play called. Ragnar Roxy through with 4 points. So some sort of call coming from Southern Oregon, organizing that offense. They send it on the outside. Ragnar Roxy hitting up against Edward Scullin. Getting caught up there. London Rumbler trying to make some space as Bubblegum Butch re-enters from the penalty box. Bubblegum Butch high-stepping up that inside line, through on an initial pass. Big hit from Durwood. Ragnar Roxy decides to call it, picking up an additional 4 points on that jam. 8 total for Southern Oregon, 117 Southern Oregon, 104 Rutgers. Some comments in the chat, some excitement about the lead change. OMG, my fingernails are gone. Timeout being called by the Wreckers. This is one of the best placed timeouts that I've seen. A little bit of a running streak coming from Southern Oregon, picking up some momentum. You got to stop that momentum in its tracks. You got to cut it off quickly before anything else can happen. So good choice there to kind of cut that off, really slow that down. I think that's a great choice. Here you have 8 minutes left. The game is close. That's like 1 jam away. So this, welcome to PDX Timeout. This timeout brought to you by RCR's official realtor. Welcome to PDX. Really, truly, I'm not necessarily good at math, but is that 9 points? No, that's bad. I don't know how, 6 plus 7, 13. 13 points separates the teams? Feel a little embarrassed. I don't know how to do math, but, 13 points. Clear Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box. That is going to be Megan Me Angry, or Megan Me Blubber tonight, jamming up against Kates of Hell. Megan Me Blubber getting some offensive help from Sinking Whale of a Problem. But that is a lead jammer going to Kates of Hell. A penalty going to someone, to Kablamo of Southern Oregon. Pack rolling into the far straightaway. Jammers racing around the pack. Megan Me Blubber catching up. Florida Lethal calling all the blockers up to the top of the pack. Skates of Hell opts to call it off, 0-0 on that jam, but now Southern Oregon is in a pack disadvantage going into this next jam. Here's that Radical Wheels replay. Some bodies falling in turn 1. Lead jammer for Kates of Hell. On our Jam on Hawthorne jam line, we have Tiny Danger and London Rumbler. Tiny Danger through with lead jammer quickly. London Rumbler to the inside line, knocked out by Solar. Going to the outside, hitting up against Slugbug and Dostoyevsky. Tiny Danger through for 4 points. Penalty, forearm penalty going to London Rumbler, giving Rutgers exactly what they need in this jam, a powerful jam. Kablamo returning from the penalty box, but not before. That is Tiny Danger through with 4 points. Pack in the far straightaway. Rutgers opts to start playing their offense. That is Tiny Danger through with another 4 points. That brings us to 17 points for Southern Oregon, 16 for Rutgers, 12 points on this jam. That is London Rumbler standing in the penalty box. as Tiny Danger goes on another scoring pass. London Rumbler with an exit hit from Dostoevsky, but through on an initial. Tiny Danger tiptoeing on the outside line to the inside line, looks to the bench, calls it off. 16 points for Wreckers, bringing their total to 120, and that is another lead change. Another one. I'm just going to keep making DJ Khaled references. I'm excited. Okay. Wow. That jam was exactly what the Wreckers needed. Put themselves back into lead. 5 minutes left in this game. On the jam line currently, you have Skates of Hell and Bubblegum Butch. Skates of Hell hitting up against the back of Durwood. Bubblegum Butch getting a hit from Pretty Awkward. A finishing hit from Mountain Mel, but lead jammer for Bubblegum Butch. Durwood drawing Skates of Hell back. Bubblegum Butch falling at the back of the Southern Oregon tripod. Skates of Hell bumping against the back of Velveeta. Skates of Hell has pulled the star. Getting some offensive help from Andy Oakley. Hit to Bruce Clues. Through for an initial. Call coming from the Wreckers bench. Bubblegum Butch calls off the jam. 0-0 on that jam, but has burned some time so Wreckers can maintain their lead. Exciting things happening. All right, and that is going to be a timeout going to Southern Oregon Derby. That is their last timeout. So this is a timeout brought to you by RCR's official realtor. Welcome to PDX. But that is Southern Oregon's last timeout. So after this, they will have no more clock stoppages. Interesting choice. There's 4 minutes left. So it is a good choice in their half. There's been some swing. This game has been back and forth and back and forth. So really, truly just kind of swinging back and forth. They're bringing together the players, talking, seeing. So here's our penalty count. 10 penalties for the Wreckers, 13 for Southern Oregon. No one in any particular penalty trouble. So going well so far. At the end of this timeout, we have Southern Oregon returning to the track. That's going to be Ragnar Roxy and Megan Me Blubber. Jammers kind of flood back towards the jam line. Whistle blows. Megan Me Blubber diving through the pack, but that is Ragnar Roxy with a back block penalty, sending her to the Rebel Heart Therapy penalty box. Megan Me Blubber and the Wreckers for a powerful jam. Offense being played. Megan Me Blubber hitting Forna Skater and Kablamo and London Rumbler and Mountain Mel. All the players I've been saying their names all night. All of the strongest players from Southern Oregon. The ones who've been the move makers from Southern Oregon making a four wall. Their four wall is no match for the Wreckers offense as they burn the entire penalty of Ragnar Roxy. Ragnar Roxy with some heat coming out of that penalty box. Slams through and is out with an initial pass. Star pass going to Stinking Whale of a Problem. This jam is going to go its natural conclusion, so we have about a minute left of the 2-minute jam. Ragnar Roxy through with 4 points. Hit out by Forna Skater to the outside. Lead change happening. This jam has everything. If you need a jam bingo, everything has happened in this jam. Hit out to the inside by Megan Me Blubber. Stinking Whale of a Problem. Dropping back, seeing if they can offer some defensive help. Decides to use it as a run-up and try to get some offensive help from Slugbug. Ragnar Roxy through with 4 points. Stinking Whale of a Problem up against the back of Kablamo. Ragnar Roxy bumps by the inside line, through with 4 points before the natural conclusion of the jam. That is going to be 12 total on the jam for Southern Oregon, 0 for Rutgers, 129 Southern Oregon, 120 Rutgers. Here is that Radical Wheels replay. We have some offensive help from London Rumbler, which springs Ragnaroxy. Wow. Another lead change. Big jam. Southern Oregon now with 129. Rutgers with 120. That is Tiny Danger jamming. Using Dostoevsky as sort of a wedge to try to wedge themselves in the wall. Big hit from Mountain Mel. While Gates of Hell for Southern Oregon is pushing up against the tripod, anchored by Durwood, accompanied by Jackie Daytona and Solar. Tiny Danger whipping off of Dostoevsky. No pack is called. No pack continues to be called. Seeing pack is stretching in the far straightaway. Gates of Hell trying to get some momentum as those blockers roll up. Dostoevsky pausing, getting a better run up for the hit. Tiny Danger trying to follow the offense. The top of the pack, that's Mountain Mel, London Rumbler, and Kablamo anchoring that tripod. Big hit from London Rumbler, and that's going to be an illegal contact, sending them to the penalty box. Tiny Danger fights through for lead jammer. 40 seconds left in this jam to make something of this. Gates of Hell hitting up against the back of Solar. Finding the back of Jackie Daytona. Big hit from Gates of Hell, knocking Tiny Danger out. Tiny Danger getting drugged back by Gates of Hell. Hitting into the back of Kablamo, using Solar as some offensive wedge. Opts to just call it off because there's only so much time left. 0-0 on that jam. No points going to Tiny Danger. An official review being used as a timeout by Rose City Wreckers, so that's going to be a welcome to PDX timeout. Official review taken to stop the clock to make sure that Wreckers can have one more jam. So good strategy coming from the Wreckers coaches, making sure that there is one more jam to try to put up those 9 points, close the gap, make sure that Wreckers are able to make some moves. Southern Oregon opting to put out Ragnaroxy. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I'm going to bet that Ragnaroxy is the highest scoring jammer for Southern Oregon. Wreckers opting to put out Bubblegum Butch. If you are enjoying this roller derby that's happening right now, go online, buy more tickets, growcityrollers.com. Games like this happen all the time. Whistle is blown, and Ragnaroxy, big hit to the inside by Edward Scullin, drawing Ragnaroxy back. Bubblegum Butch getting some offensive help from Velveeta at the top of the pack. Florida Lethal with a hit on Ragnaroxy, but Ragnaroxy captures lead jammer. Pack rolling into the far straightaway. Two-town House star pass to Edward Scullin. The period clock has ended, but the jam time still has a minute 23 on it. There is the call-off. 4 points for the Wreckers on that jam, 1 for Southern Oregon, 130 Southern Oregon Derby, 124 Wreckers. And that is going to be our unofficial score. We're waiting for a final score to happen. There's our Radical Wheels replay of that moment. Kind of waiting. Referees are concluding their official score, and that is going to be our final score. So, hard-fought game. lots of lead changes, incredible game, lots of roller derby expressed out here on the track. Really great roller derby. Great game. I don't really have anything more to say because the game's over. So I have been Rosemary's Baby. I've been your announcer for tonight. Good night, and wait for your MVPs.
First here for Southern Oregon for MV Blocker, we have
Solar.
Solar. What do we got? All right, for MV Jammer, we have
Oh, it's me too. Who is this? Butch.
Butch. Overall? All right, and MVP overall is
Eddie.
Eddie. All right. And now, for our Southern Oregon MVJ, we have
MVJ, Rowdy.
Rowdy. And for MV Blocker, we have
Forney.
Forney. Forney. Did you have it overall?
Yeah.
All right. And MVP overall, we have
Ragnar Roxy.
Ragnar Roxy. All right. Okay. You're talking about the birthday.
We got birthday, captains retiring, and chair retiring.
Okay.
Chair retiring? Yeah.
Okay. All right, and then stick around for just a little bit more. We have a couple more announcements. So today is a very special day for one of our skaters. It is Blizka's birthday. Do you want to sing? Do you want to sing? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Bruce Clues. Happy birthday to you. Yeah!
Hey folks, did you know that your head is not normal? No one's is. If your helmet size is a small, but your teammate's size is an extra large, wearing the same helmet shell doesn't just look kind of funny. The functionality of the EPS foam and how it disperses impact energy is compromised. The 888 certified sweat saver comes in better shell size options than our leading competitor, giving you the highest level of protection on impact. Try it for yourself. We got you.